Hi, Stitchers. Welcome to Tatreez Talk, where we share conversations about Palestinian embroidery. I'm Amani here with my co-host Lena, chatting with talented embroiderers and artists, sharing their stories, inspirations, and the cultural significance behind their work.
On today's episode, we're chatting with Mary, a Palestinian Italian, another Palestinian Tatreez artist from Chicago who is now in Northern Virginia. Mary works in the corporate world for Blue Cross Blue Shield and considers all of her hobbies to be Tatreez related. She is currently expecting her first baby girl. And Mary joined Amani, Bayan, and I at the Tatreez Retreat last October, so we're so excited to chat with you, Mary. Thank you for joining us on Tatreez Talk.
I'm so excited to be here, you guys. I missed you. It's been so long.
It's been way too long, but I'm glad at least forcing you to do this, we can chat with you.
It's on my to-do list, and now that baby's coming soon, I need to check this one off.
Exactly. And then you can come back with the baby. Like you and Samia have to have update episodes with your babies.
That'd be so sweet. That's the dream.
So, okay, Mary, can we start off by sharing a little bit about you and your family's connection to Palestine?
Yeah. So as you said, I'm Palestinian. That's literally how we've introduced ourselves like my entire life. Palestinian on my Baba side, Italian on my mama's side. And I'm first generation American here in the U.S. because my dad was born in Jerusalem. But my dad's family's from Ramallah and Birzeit. My teta's side is from Birzeit, also like Samia actually. And my mom's side's Italian. It's interesting because like growing up, I always like felt really connected to the Italian side. Not, I wouldn't say like more than my Palestinian side, but I was taking Italian in school and I felt like I was a little bit more immersed in the culture that way. But really, it's like all these recent years since connecting to Tatreez more and like it's helped me connect to my family more and hear stories I otherwise wouldn't have heard from them. I really feel so connected to my Palestinian side now, even though I don't speak Arabic. But we're teaching and learning Tatreez, and it's been the biggest blessing I think in my life, in my adult life at least.
Yeah, no,
I love
definitely. And
that.
I know like Tatreez has also obviously, as Lena mentioned, you recently moved, but when you were in Chicago, Tatreez was kind of this way to also open you up a little bit more to the Palestinian community, right?
Yeah. And so like I said, my tita side's from Birzeit, but my Sito side's from Ramallah. And so we've always been members of like the local Ramallah club chapters. And I think something that's interesting about being from Ramallah, and I'm also Christian, and so it's very, it's just Christian Ramallah community. We're all kind of related to each other, like, so it's like, oh, well, how are you related? And we always just go, oh, like through the Shakra, because it's like this big giant family tree descending from like the founding brothers of Ramallah. And so it's interesting because we have so much documentation about how far back our family tree goes. Like I had to do a family tree project in second grade, and my mom's in a genealogy, so both sides of my tree were just like 13 generations back.
So
or something
cool though.
crazy. Yeah, and so I've always knew like exactly where we come from, which I think is really unique. I think a lot of people that we've heard from, a lot of Palestinians, I mean, they don't know exactly like where their family's from, but my family, like we've always known exactly where we're from. And so with the local Ramallah Club chapter, we have one here well, I say here, but I'm in Virginia now, but in Chicago. And they just built like a beautiful home basically for like a cultural center for the Ramallah Club. And so, everybody who's like through the club, it's like, oh, they're like my aunt or whatever. And so when my aunties like reached out to me last year, and it was it was in 2022 now. Yeah, in 2022. And I remember it was like maybe a couple months before I was getting married, and she was like, hey, we have an Adobe school, and as part of the Adobe school curriculum, they put the kids through, they have Adobe class, but then they have cultural classes, and they have, they do the tabla, they were doing history and culture, they were doing cooking and making like the warak, and so she was like, we'd love, because she knew I'd do Tatreez, she was like, we'd love to have you as part of the staff to teach Tatreez to the kids. And I was like immediately like, yes, but I had no idea what I was getting into. I'm not a teacher. So I taught 30 kids kindergarten through sixth grade, like every other weekish. And it's so interesting because like you see different things out of different kids and how they connect to it very early on or how they struggle with it. And it's like I felt like because I wasn't seeing them enough, almost every single time I saw them, I'm like, oh, I have to teach them how to do an X again, But uh, but they were so sweet. Like I would bring to them like some of the Tatreez like children's books that I have in my library, and even just like read to the kindergartners and just to expose them to what is Tatreez and hey, what is this dress called? Oh, it's a thobe, and like the call and response. So trying to engage them like whatever I felt like was appropriate for the age group, but it was difficult teaching the kids. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You also mentioned that you would like eavesdrop on their conversations as they were practicing. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's so funny because so every week I would try to wear different tatreez, and that included like the tatreez earrings from Wata and like the different motifs. Like I think I have the tree of life, and then I have the risha, and so I'd just wear them and not say anything. And then I'd just be like, I wonder who's going to be the first to notice that I'm wearing tatreez earrings. And it was like one of the boys one time, he was like, wait, Auntie Mary, like you're wearing tatreez earrings. I was like, yes, I am, honey. Like it's so sweet. But they got really frustrated, I think, learning tatreez at first, like a lot of knots, a lot of help, having to help them, undo everything. Because the kids, like, we were using plastic canvas and yarn, and they would just go in and out, like, around the entire canvas. The craziest knots I've ever seen in my life. So, I'd help them out. But one day I was like helping some other kids, and then I was like a few of the boys in class talking, and they were like, oh, this is actually pretty fun and relaxing. I was like, yes, it is, like it kind of was taken to them. But I think one student who like will always have my heart, she's so sweet. I felt so bad moving cross country to have to like leave teaching these kids, but especially this one student. Her aunt, who was like in charge of the Audubon school, who told me, she's like, she really didn't want to come back to Audubon school this year. Like she was going to be really bored, but she was so excited about Tatreez. And I swear I was like, she's like my mini me. She'd come to class like with her own little kit. She would go home and like work on whatever, she could with her teta. Like I'd give her extra supplies at the end of every class. And she would just run in so excited. And she actually would like skip the other classes occasionally. Like they had said, you have to go to Audubon class, but they let her like skip other classes so she could hang out with me, as long as it wasn't like the history and culture class. Like if it was like a gym class, like she just hung out with me and helped the other kids because she took to it so well. And it's just like it lit this whole other fire in her. And so it was like I was literally like, I'm gonna cry because like, this is why I'm doing this. It was the sweetest thing. One of the best experiences, honestly. Frustrating at times with the kids because very short attention spans. But yeah, absolutely. Like those things, I'm like, oh, that will always stick with me.
Yeah, that's adorable. Okay, can we take a step back and actually start by asking you about your Tatreez journey and like where your Tatreez journey began, how it became a part of your life?
Yeah. So I started Tatreez, it was December 2017, and I was on winter break from college. So I was at home in Chicago, and one of our like neighbors, old friends, had shared with my mom and I on Facebook that she saw that there was going to be a Tatreez Palestinian embroidery workshop at Watan in Chicago, hosted by, of course, Wafa Mayim. Of course. But this was in person. This was before everything went online, So and my mom and I went, and I was totally hooked. I think the cultural connection is what made it special, but like my whole life, like I never really had any hobbies that stuck. Like I didn't really try knitting. I bought stuff one time, and like I tried once, and I was, it's just like every other hobby I really tried. It never stuck. Like I was never a sporty girl. I literally tell people I don't sport. Like I just don't do it. So I never really had a hobby. And so I think, getting the hang of it, I was like, I immediately was like, we're going to Joanne Fabrics. We're buying up a bunch of stuff. And I went back for the rest of my senior year with like as much as I could, like 5 colors that I was able to buy in person. My mom actually already happened to have a book because through the Ramallah Club, they would always send out magazines, and occasionally there'd be books for sale. So my mom actually had a Tatreez book on the shelf, which I stole, obviously. Yeah, so I was like, I was at very little, but and then I just started following people on Instagram, and I really didn't like keep in touch with Wafa at all. It wasn't until she started like during COVID doing her Instagram lives for like different motifs, and I was tuning into that, and then she started teaching classes. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah, and during COVID, my whole life was working from home all day. My corporate job, I started doing my MBA classes at night. So then I was doing Tatreez also at night in those Tatreez classes. And that community really, really got me through. And even senior year, like before I had that community, like Tatreez itself got me through. I was like, senior year was kind of tough. I was going through some health stuff. And it's just like, I spent a lot of time just like at home and stitching. And it was so calming and something that I really needed. But yeah, so I feel like I don't know what my life is at this point without Tatreez and without the community. Like my husband knows every Thursday night I'm in Stitching Collective, with girls with people online, and he's always calling me to come to bed, and I'm like, I will soon. Next thing you know, it's midnight, so it's just. But we used to stay up like all night, like until like 3 a.m. and stuff during COVID. But yeah, that's really kind of how Tatreez came into be in my life.
That's amazing. And then how about in your move to Northern Virginia? Did you get in touch with like local Tatreez circles or anything like that?
Yeah, we had to move here pretty quickly when my husband got his job offer, and luckily with my work, I was able to transfer very quickly. I have a cousin in the area, and funny enough, she's the only cousin I've gotten into Tatreez because during COVID, I convinced her to take one of Wafa's classes online with me. But yeah, it was like, we're moving to Virginia. I was like, oh, we're going to be in like DC. I knew people in DC area because of these online communities. So I was like, not worried about it at all. I was like, I got friends there.
Yes,
I love
you
that.
do.
And I've met more ever since I moved here. We don't have right now, we don't have like a publicly advertised meetup, but we've kind of had some informal meetups that have just kind of grown really organically. And so we meet up at a coffee shop and in a mall, like near not far, and we'll get together there, or we try to go support like different Palestinian businesses. And we have like big goals in mind of like maybe we can try to, arrange something bigger, but we at least are getting together and stitching and hanging out. But yeah, that's become like part of my social life here. Otherwise, I feel like we'd know no one. I'd know no one.
It's so cute.
That's
I
amazing.
love that. I know. I can totally see. I know obviously you're baking a baby, so a little busy. But I can totally see you flourishing in like a local community there, and maybe even teaching some of the young children of Northern Virginia some Tatreez now that you have the
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, I think that would be like so fun. I always wanted, I haven't done any like formal classes. I feel like the way I've kind of fallen into like teaching people has been really kind of organic, and a lot of the times it ends up being when we're at stitching circles and there's somebody new and like teaching people different
Hmm.
strategies. Like I love nerding out too on like different strategies. I'm like, wait, this is how I would stitch it, and we just kind of like teach each other that way. But yeah, I'd love to get into some like formal teaching at some point, because I like teaching the kids was really fun, and there's only I mean I don't wouldn't say I'd only want to teach kids because it can be really tough, but I love bringing new people like into the fold and inviting people to come along. I think it's so important to be teaching each other, as we go, which
Yeah.
you know because you teach.
No, and what was really beautiful about your story with the kids is like you didn't even just teach them the technical of things of Tatreez, but you also offered an opportunity for the girl to like connect with her grandmother, which I think is so powerful. And I know that Tatreez also brought you closer to your family and your teta. I would love to hear more
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned like from Tatreez is like how it's been able to connect me more to my family, like to my teta, to my great grandmother. I met like once, twice, before she passed, and then also to like my great aunts who are still alive. And it's like I remember when I started telling some of them that I was doing Tatreez, and I think other people have said this too on the podcast of where it's like, why are you doing that? You're so young. How did you get into that?
Mm.
Um, And, with my teta, like I would spend time like hanging out at her house and sleeping over and, I'd be stitching. I'd show her what I was stitching. And, it's funny because we always joke about how the tetas, like they have to go look at the back immediately. So I would like get annoyed if my teta wasn't looking at the back. Take a look at the back,
You're like, I made an effort, please look.
And she'd be like, "Oh my, like this is so good, like you're so talented." But yeah, I mean, I always seen so much Tatreez like around the house and around her house, and her house had flooded a few years ago, and it was a ton of work. So I spent a lot of time over there, like helping her clean through things, but in doing so and going through everything, we found a lot of Tatreez. I'm like, oh, who made this? Let me take a picture of that, And she's given me some things that she had made, and it's just like some of my most special, like most prized possessions. But I love talking to her and asking her, well, when you were doing this back home, and and she'd talk about how she would be doing Tatreez at like 16 and learning in school, and it's just such a different experience. But my tita never made a thobe herself, but my great grandmother made many thobes, and so I was like, I need pictures of these, and I'd seen some in person. I'm just like, they're so beautiful. A lot of floral, mostly like on blue or black. And so it's like, well, I'm wanting to photograph these so I can take inspiration for, my own thobe.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually the piece that's hanging behind me is one that one of my great aunts gave me that my great grandmother, Maleda, made. Yeah, it's so Birzeit. But that olive tree is very like specific to Birzeit. So it's just like one of the most like some of my most prized possessions. And I just feel so much more connected to my grandmothers because of it. So knowing that that's my experience too, like being able to teach kids, I'm encouraging them to ask questions in their own homes and their grandmother's homes, like, who, what is this? Who made that? Where's this from? What is, is this from Mamala? Like, it's just, these are questions I wish I could have asked when I was a kid, My kids will ask.
Yeah. No, and you'll have the answers, which will be nice.
Yeah.
And okay, so your great grandmother, you said she made a ton of thwab. Are those still in the family? Do you have any? Where do those live now?
Yeah, I don't have any myself yet. I know my teta has at least one. One of my great aunts, who's still in Birzeit, has a number of them, and I told her to send me pictures. But I found out a crazy story a couple years ago, which I need to kind of pick this search back up. But when my great grandmother visited Chicago in about the 80s, and my teta is like positive of the timing because it was around when one of her brothers was graduating from I think pharmacy school. And so she's like, okay, so Tita Milad only came to the US like a few times, but she was here. They were on a train in Chicago, and there was another woman on the train who was like pretty young, history teacher, but she recognized that this was Palestinian embroidery, and it was like so beautiful, and she offered to my great grandmother on the train to buy this dress from her. And
she was wearing it?
My great grandmother was wearing it on the train.
Wow, that's bold.
I know. I was like, I can never. And I don't know, what was going on like at the time, but they were like, yeah, I guess they made it an agreement. The woman hopped off the train, but the husband like stayed on so they can exchange phone numbers or something. And so, according to my teta, this woman came over to the house, and she was, very different size compared to my great grandmother, a lot thinner. And so my teta had done like taken it in for her and done some sewing, and they sold her this dress. And that's the only dress that, as far as I know, that ever left the family. But it happened here in the U.S. in Chicago, and now I'm like, I need to find this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm trying. So every time I talk to Tata, I feel like, when you're talking, especially to like somebody older in your family, you kind of have to, you can't just like ask them all the questions at one time. You have to keep coming back and let them keep thinking, and like let their memory kind of jog a little bit. And so I kind of, I'll hit the voice recording while I'm talking and be like, so by the way,
Mary, I love it. You're so strategic and conniving. It's in the best way possible. It's amazing.
Not like in a conniving way, I'd say, but like, it's like oral history stuff. Like you can't,
Yes.
It might be different the first time you hear it versus the second time after like they've had some time to think about it and more details come out. So every time I'd like try to talk to her, I'd be like, so do you know like what university she taught at, like, and so I
Yeah.
kind of think I might have narrowed it down, but I'm like, I need to actually contact, my goal is to contact the schools that I think where she could have taught,
Mhm.
um, which she might actually have taught at the one where my sister's at right now, so that would be ideal. Try to get faculty lists from around that same time and see if I can like find this woman and try to get this thobe back into the family. And I talked with Wafa about this too, and she gave me some tips around like interviewing Tata and stuff when it comes to this oral history aspect. But she basically told me don't get my hopes up. But like
Yeah.
I would love, even if I found that it was in a museum, even if it didn't like come back to me, I would love to be able to say, I know who made this though. Like this was
Yes.
my take. Because like every dress in every museum, like it's just you don't know. Like it's just gotten so
Yeah.
separated. And if any names are attached to it, it's the person who donated it, which means they
Hmm.
acquired it maybe on a trip to Palestine at some point. But I would love to even just say like my Tata made that and put that in a museum. So we'll see. I don't know. It's like been on my
Yeah.
list, but I need to pick the search back up while I can. But
Oh man. Okay, well, if anyone's
thank you.
listening and has any
You were in
thoughts,
Chicago and a history professor
yeah.
on the Queens and on the Blue Line train.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
anyone has
Wow.
any thoughts on how to help Mary track this down, we're open
Oh my
to
gosh.
listening. So,
That would be the most amazing story of my life if we found this through the podcast. I would just die. That would be amazing.
never say never. Who
No,
knows?
never know.
Okay, so have you mentioned that you have a cousin who does tarriz, but is there anyone else in the family that is like that stitches with you?
No, I have tried with my siblings, and I told them we need to try again. You guys got to be a little patient. Like I mean, I'm not patient. My siblings definitely also aren't patient. Funny enough, though, like my brother's girlfriend is super crafty, and she
Mm-hmm.
like surprised me at the baby shower, made a onesie for the baby. I'm like, I didn't even know
Oh.
to like can cross stitch. Like she did the threes, um, you know, yeah, and the same thing with my yeah, with my other sibling, significant other, same thing. Did said does Tatreez gifted me Tatreez. I'm like, I didn't know you were doing this. So just trying to
That's
support
sweet.
them and encourage them and send them resources too. I'm like, well, if my siblings aren't going to do it, at least you guys are, you know.
Yeah, that's
But
sweet.
yeah,
We gotta get
yeah,
more.
I'm
We gotta get
trying.
more of the family though. We gotta work
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah, but at least like my cousin now, she just bought a house like 15 minutes away, and I was like, oh my gosh, we could just get together and stitch and like hang out, and it's just yeah, that makes me really happy that we can do that at least.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so we speaking about like rescuing dresses. So for the listeners who don't know, well, I mentioned at the beginning, but Mary was with us at the Tatreez Retreat, but more so, more importantly, she rescued a really beautiful thobe. Mary, please tell us more about this beautiful thobe.
Well, the story kind of started with Amani actually. Because yeah, so I think Santa Fe was just so beautiful. We had just the best time. And I think I was the one who told you all. I was like, "There's this like artist market going on, like really close to the hotel. We should go check it out." And I was
Hmm.
so shocked at like how big this was. There was a lot of handmade stuff, and it was at first we just thought it was like all these outdoor tents, but then there was this whole building inside. And I remember it was me and Kadzi and Amani. We were in there, and Amani, I don't even know where you came from. You
Yeah.
came running around the corner. And you were like, like, I found a thobe. Someone needs to buy it.
Literally, I was like, it's not my style, but it's so beautiful. Someone needs to buy it
Oh
immediately,
man,
please.
that was just wild. So I don't know, we beelined over to this booth, and the booth was really interesting. So it was this owned by this woman who was selling like cultural clothing basically from
Hmm.
travels around the world, and it's labeled Palestinian, Palestinian embroidery. And I have it next to me because I knew we were going to talk about it. But this like beautiful, like yellow variegated here. I mean, you guys probably haven't seen her in a while, but here
I
she is.
Oh,
know.
beautiful.
The most beautiful though. All the variegated thread throughout, and some tahriri and menagel, and just I'm short and I see this thing and I'm holding it up. I'm like, oh man, I think that'll fit. Like that looks good, And so I tried it on, and it happened. It worked out too that I was also wearing a sweatshirt at the time that said Palestine. So, I'm like, okay, well, this is overpriced, and this needs to also come back to our people. Like this was acquired by some person, traveling. I'm like, this needs to come back to our community. And so I started haggling with the lady like a true Arab. And I was like, hey, we're Palestinian. We are literally here this weekend for doing this art. Like this is called Tatreez. We do cross stitch. This is the whole purpose of like why we're here. And it's like, so it's like, I want, will you take, I forget what I offered at the time. It was lower than it was listed. And she had to call the owner, and I think telling her, oh, she's a Palestinian girl, she wants to buy it. Like, she immediately said yes. And I was like, dang, I probably could have asked for less.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, all right, we're doing it. I'm so excited. I tried it on. It fit perfectly. And I didn't notice until actually right after I bought it that there's little deer motifs like on the ends of the sleeve, which is crazy because my husband's American, so my last name now is Buck, and so it's like there's literally deer on the sleeves. I was like, if this wasn't meant to be, I don't know what is. And this is like, honestly, it's my favorite thobe now. But yeah, probably stitched in about the 80s, I think. It matches another one that I've seen that's like pretty much the exact same thing with the style and the variegation throughout. And the Tahriri, so about the 80s. But I wish I knew where she came from. But yeah, that's the most recent part of her story. So,
So she didn't say any details about how this dress was acquired, or
no, she just kind of said that just like through travels. The tag on it just said Palestinian.
I mean, at least that's good. I mean,
yeah,
the minimum.
Yeah, I mean, the woman who owns the shop definitely bought it when she was in Palestine. So like, who knows?
I remember she had like a beautiful Syrian embroidered skirt.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it was gorgeous, but
Yeah,
it was a little
pink on
too,
black.
yeah, it was beautiful, but it was a little too out of my budget. But
Yeah.
yeah, this woman definitely, like, actually I saw that skirt first, and when I saw that skirt, something in me told me you will find a thobe if you keep looking. You're gonna find Tatreez. You're gonna find Palestinian Tatreez. And sure enough, I did. And I sure did run around that entire building. I could not find you or Kazi. I was gonna kill you guys. I was running around that building like one of these women needs to buy this dang thobe. Like,
Honestly, I feel like this was like a tandem rescue mission. I don't know. Like, I was like, I'm sure, I don't know. That place was so huge. I'm like, maybe we would have found it eventually. But like, I mean, you're so much part of this story too, of how she came to come, into my life too. But yeah, no, I just adore this thobe. The only thing that I think is missing is a pocket.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's perfect.
Yeah. I do love the fact that there are like little deer on the sleeves. Like, that to me is the best part of the whole story.
It's so meant to be. Honestly, I love it. And then it's like there's different pieces. Like, I think when you can like study and feel the up front or up close and personal, I'm like, oh, there's so many things now that I want to incorporate into my own because of this. Like, I've never seen a deer motif in any of the books. So I'm like, well, maybe I can digitize that and incorporate that into my thobe, and that commemorates, the story of this one, but also my husband's inside. So it's like, oh, there's so many options of. Alina, I just need to take your course and design it. I have so many.
Girl, so many. The possibilities are endless. The biggest problem out of all of this is how do you narrow it down? And yeah, it's tough, but you'll get it. The heart. I mean, you have all the pieces. It's just a matter of how are they going to kind of come together. It's so exciting though. I love that.
Yeah, I love that thobe. Yeah, and I'm surprised, honestly. I feel like I should have made a thobe by now. I've been stitching for so long. I think I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I know exactly kind of what pieces I want. But then the more I'm learning and the more I'm in classes and learning about the history of different pieces of Tatreez and motifs, and I'm like, but that would be so cool on my thobe too. So it's like, okay, I have to just get to a point where it's like I need to just make the first one, and then other stuff can be on the next one.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was going to tell you. This doesn't have to be the only thobe. I think that's the biggest thing people believe or feel, because they're like, oh, this is such a big project. Like, it's going to be the one. You can have more than one. It's all good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, hopefully, hopefully we'll have as many as Tate to stitch,
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, and where are you with your own thobe right now? Because I
In my
remember us
head.
talking about it when we were in Santa Fe. So where are we now?
Oh boy. So it's in my head. I have some sketches and I have lists of like different motifs and stuff I want to include. Yeah, I don't honestly, I don't know why I haven't. I feel like the biggest thing for me is like finding the right fabric. And I know, Manny, you had the
Yeah.
same experience where you like had a specific fabric in mind. Like for the thread that I have that are like that I've acquired and stuff, like they're just this like such a perfect fabric. I'm like they don't wrinkle, the dog hair doesn't stick to
Yeah.
it. So I'm like, how do I find that? Like, or how do I find like the perfect even weave where maybe I don't need waist canvas, but it still has those other features. So I think I've bought fabric before and I was like, this is gonna be it. And then I started stitching on it and I was like, maybe not. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I've bought fabric, but I will say though, because of baby girl coming, I was like, oh, I'm gonna stitch a thobe while I'm pregnant. Well, now she's due next month, and I also still don't have a thobe. But I think, but then I was like, well, I don't want to stitch something that's like newborn size, and then she's gonna outgrow it really fast. So my cousin is gonna come over. I think like next week we decided we're gonna sit there and mock up, and I have baby dresses that I can kind of get the sizing from. So I was like, I'm accepting the fact that I'm totally okay if the first thobe I make is for my baby girl because, well, one, it'll be a
Yes.
blockbuster project.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be really special. So I do have a couple fabrics for that though that I feel pretty good about. So I think that's like the biggest hurdle, I think one of them
Totally.
at least is fabric.
Fabric really is the biggest hurdle, at least for me. I'm the same where you, Mary, like how you were saying, like, oh,
Yeah.
I wish I could find a fabric where I didn't need waist canvas. Like, oh, that is like my dream. I want to find the right linen that I could stitch a thobe or a dress without having to use waist canvas because we all know I hate waist canvas.
Not that I hate waste canvas, it's
I
that
do.
I know. I get it though. Like I get why. And it's just I think it's harder too to like bring it with you places and it has to kind of stay kind of pristine but I do have a thobe that's in pieces that is unassembled that my tata gave me.
Ooh.
So it's interesting because it was she had it somebody back home like order it and it was I don't know, it was like they paid for somebody else to stitch it. And the way they sent the pieces, it's literally just giant two pieces of fabric, like one giant
Mm-hmm.
rectangle, and it's got the chest panel, the front, the back, and it's got the sleeves, and then it's like ready to just put a pattern on and to like cut it out. But
Yeah.
this fabric is so perfect, and like they did not use any waste canvas, and the stitching is absolutely perfection, and you can see it. And so I'm like, oh, that would be the dream to find this fabric. But every time I ask any family, I'm like, oh, like Tata, do you know what kind of fabric this is? They're like, oh, it's just thobe fabric. I'm like, that's not helpful. I can't Google that.
I know.
This is literally the problem I had. And when Lena and I were in Jordan, I think we had this dream of going fabric shopping, and then I broke my
Hmm.
foot, so that didn't happen. But I think we all just need to take a trip to Palestine and go fabric shopping. I think that's what,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I
That's all
know
we can
Qadi
do.
is ready because Qadi talks about it all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, she sent her husband too, like into a fabric
Yes,
store.
I
And
sure
he had
do. I saw the I saw the pictures and everything.
Gosh, I love it. I love that she did that. No, man. That's another thing too, Kadi. I was just texting her yesterday about how I'm going to do the podcast and how, like, I miss her. But it's so funny because I think seeing all of you guys in person at the retreat was so, so special. Kadi was my roomie though, and we had known each other since like very, very early on, like early, early COVID days, like long. I mean, she's probably one of the first people I actually met online. And so when we saw each other in person at the retreat, we cried. I was like, oh my gosh.
Aw, Habibi, I love that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that
I
either.
was like, I don't know if you knew that. I was like, it's just like so different. And like, even like seeing all of you guys and even the new people that I had met on the retreat, I was just like, it's so different. Like seeing everybody in like 3D and being able to like hug everybody and, see everybody's faces. It's like, that was so special. But we literally I think we stayed up until like 2 a.m. just talking, and laying in our beds talking, during the retreat. We had such a good time. But yeah, she's my, she's such a sweetheart. I love her so much.
Well, and
Well, you guys also, oh, go
I
ahead.
think you're going to say the same exact thing I was going to
Yeah.
say. They had the best room
Yeah.
because you guys booked your room so late. Like the room that was available had like a little like living room. So we wound up like every night in their hotel room stitching and gabbing. And there was the iconic Yeza wedding thobe
Oh my
moment
gosh.
that happened in your room as well.
Oh my gosh, that was so sweet. Oh, sweet, yeah. I remember because she was sitting there working on it. I think we were chatting when, and she mentioned she hadn't tried it on in like a long time. And I was like, we got to put this on you and see how it's looking. And poor girl, she like couldn't get half of it over her head. And so she had done all this menage like all the way up the sides, like up into the armpits. And by the way, such a genius hack to do menagel with thicker pearl cotton. I didn't learn that until on the retreat where she was like, "Oh yeah, I used size 5." I was like, "That's so smart. It goes so much faster."
Yeah.
But yeah, she was stuck and she couldn't get it on, and so it was me who got the scissors and cut her out of it. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this feels so haram. It's all this work."
It was a special bonding moment, that's for sure. You guys are bonded for life.
Kept cutting a little on each side and pulling it down. Does it fit? Yeah. Does it fit? Yeah. And, we were able, I love that we were able to like be part of her thobe story too and like help her problem solve. But that's just the kind of stuff like you can't do online, that's so I'm so sad to miss the retreat this year, but I'm so excited for everybody who's going to get to have those experiences. Hopefully nobody's cutting each other out of a thobe this time, but there's probably something.
Yeah, hopefully not. But if need be, we're there for you. So there you go.
Yeah, and we'll help. I mean, if she wasn't at a place yet where she needed help redoing the menagel, but I'm sure if she was, we would have all kicked in.
Yeah, exactly. It turned out the finished product turned out beautifully, so it all worked out at the end.
So beautiful, yeah. Oh man.
So good. So good. Okay, so Mary, what are you working on right now? I know you mentioned the baby thobe. Anything else that you're working on? Tatreez or Tatreez adjacent?
Yeah. Well, the Tatreez I've been working on mostly is onesies. Because it's just like they're such quick little projects and waist canvas and so I bought packs of onesies and we had a lot of travel actually this summer, a lot of travel to Chicago by my family, travel to upstate New York by my husband's family. And so I was like, these onesies are going to be nice, quick projects I could do in the car. And so, and actually I use the same app that you do, Amani, Markup. I
love that.
Love that app. And so what I actually found out is like when I'm on the go, when I've finished a project for these onesies because they're so small, I would just go on Tirazain on my phone and I could do the download to my phone and then load it into the app and whatever colors I had. So I was like, I've just been kind of churning out onesies. Just like little motifs here and there.
Freaking cute. So cute.
Yeah, and then the keffiyeh bear, everybody's
so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna have to like send pictures so we can post the pictures because they're really cute. And like Mary, I'm always very impressed with Mary. Mary is like always stitching on the go. I am not good about that. Yes. I need like my space. Mary will be like sending pictures. She's like on a road trip stitching. Yeah. Like weren't you like at like a baseball game? Like you were like literally at some kind of outdoor event and you were like sending pictures of like yourself stitching somewhere.
Oh yeah. Back in May, I was at my brother's college graduation.
There you go.
And it's funny because we were being in the stadium, we can only bring in teeny tiny purses. And I was actually working on the baby bib gift I made for Samya. Because that's another one of my favorite projects that I love doing is baby bibs for every cousin whose babies like are born into the family. And I made a bunch for Samya, but I think I was using the tiniest purse possible for that. And I just whipped this thing out of my bag and my teta was like, "Where'd you get that?" I was like, I could be 0 to stitching in 3.5 seconds, baby. Like my in-laws came up to visit. We went out like to wineries and stuff. And same thing. I was like, I just pulled out I always have like a tiny project that can fit like on the go, like in the very small pouch in my purse. Sometimes I'll use like one of those crossbody, small bags. And then there's the larger projects, but I'm like, I feel like it's like a security blanket type thing. Like even if I know I'm not going to be able to stitch when I'm going somewhere, like I take it with me anyway. I'm like, I go to work and I bring it with me. I'm like, I know I'm not going to stitch at work, but sometimes I'll stitch on the train. I know that would kill you, Amanda.
I couldn't do it. I'm impressed. I wish I could. I like to spread out too. I like my
Yeah.
space. Like I get, but I wish I could because I would be so much quicker.
My hot take too is
Uh,
like I love stitching on planes. The lighting is so good with the plane lighting.
Oh, because you get the direct spotlight.
Yeah.
okay, wait, quick question, Mary, on the bibs and just baby onesies. You don't feel worried about throw up on there or like pooping mistakes? Like, really, that's a lot of work, you know?
Well, that's why these ones I did more recently are bigger size. They're like 18 months.
You're planning ahead. I
Maybe
love
they
it.
won't be as so many, but it's like I think too when you look at this these all the thwab, and you see the stains and the stories like
Yeah.
in like the when you when I learned from Wafa too about how like the dresses were modified to to have for breastfeeding and stuff, and then you see stains and stuff. I'm like, that's just gonna happen. Like that means they're being worn and they're
Yeah.
being loved, And as much as I love like keeping my tatreez all like pristine and like all organized, I'm like, well, that means the baby's wearing it and experiencing it, and we're gonna have pictures of her wearing it. So just getting some really good stain treatments are really fun.
There you go.
But
I love that. I love that approach. It like, yes, they're made to be worn.
I will say though, the bibs that I make are not meant to be worn. Like those,
Oh, just kidding, actually.
not though, because so that's like, and honestly, they'd be super easy to make yourself. Like I bought them online, and they're not like true Ada cloth or anything, but you can make them from whatever fabric you wanted. And they literally just sewed like bias tape around the edges. But yeah, so I have this like all these bibs I've worked through. And when I gift them to people, like to my cousins, I put it on a bear. And I said, okay, listen, the bear sits on the shelf in the nursery. You take the bib off, like you take the bib off, you put it on the baby, you take the picture, you send it to Auntie Mary, and then you put it back on. Like this is not an eating bib. And so, um, so
I
it's
love
funny.
that the gift comes with like very specific instructions. I love that, Mary. I love
I was
it.
like, this is a memento. Like, this is this is not that kind of bib. But so this is so fun. I mean, it's actually kind of sad too. But no, it's a funny story. But we went to visit family, and one of my cousins, I just met their baby for the first time, and I had sent him a bib. And he was he was like the happiest baby, like when they showed him, the gift, and it came in the mail, like it was just the sweetest pictures they sent me. But when I go and I meet the kids, and I'm like with them in person, I'm like, okay, get the bear out. We're going to take pictures with Auntie Mary, with the baby. And we took the bib off and we put it on my cousin's baby. And I swear, like 2 minutes after we took that thing off, he projectile vomited everywhere. He was so sick. Habibi, like, we had to get
Oh
straight into
no.
the shower. And he ended up being like sick with something in general. Like, it wasn't just like normal, thing. But I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sad that he's not feeling well, but ooh, we got that off just in time. Not an eating
Oh my
bib.
God. Okay. Strict instructions. If Mary ever gives your baby a bib, it is only for a quick photo op. Do not allow your baby to eat in that bib. Noted.
Samyet, I forgot to tell you that. Samyet.
Girl, do not let your baby eat with that bib on. She is coming for you.
Oh man. No, it's like one of my favorite gifts though. I think it's so sweet to like be able to give Tatreez to the next generation right from the get-go.
Yeah. No, they're always I mean, I've seen a few of them that you've done and they're always so cute. And the bear is adorable too. So I love that it's a cute gift. Okay, Mary, we always ask people at the end, are there any major life lessons that you have learned from Tatreez that you would like to share?
I feel like so many, and also a lot of the same that a lot of other people say too. For me, I get my patience from my baba, which means I have none, in general. But so Tatreez has taught me a lot of patience, but also I think yeah, that I wasn't expecting the amount of community that it would provide me and like the sense of like knowing who I am. And, I feel like my Palestinian identity growing up was always something that I couldn't really embrace and talk about and almost felt like to tell people. I mean, it still feels like telling people I'm Palestinian. It's like coming out in a way. I mean, I wouldn't know what that actually it feels like, but yeah, like for me, I'm like, I feel like it's always something I'm having to hide about myself. And it's like this big reveal. And like for me, Tatreez has also made me feel so much more confident in sharing with people that I'm Palestinian. I'm like, hey, I'm Palestinian and I do this art and look at how beautiful it is. And it's such a neutral way to like talk about Palestine. And people are really receptive to that. And so I've just realized too, like there's a lot of fears that I've had about What are people always going to think? And, it's just like, it kind of, that goes out the window. And I'm like, I'm good to be more unapologetically Palestinian because of like how connected I am now to my culture through Tatreez. And that's brought me so much. But yeah, it's also just taught me, yeah, yeah, patience. And I'm trying to learn to not be as perfectionist with things, but we have to fix our mistakes too as we go along. But yeah, just the community that it's brought me has probably been the biggest blessing. Yeah, I mean, I consider like you guys my sisters. I consider so many other people, a part of these communities, like people I've known for a long time, like family. And so that Tatreez I wouldn't have had that without Tatreez.
That is so beautiful. Oh, Mary, thank you for joining us. This has been such a lovely conversation. Before we let you go, where can everyone find you?
I am on Instagram at Tatreez with Mary. I am not the Instagram star like Lena and Amani here, so I haven't posted on it in a few years, but I'm hoping to get that, back up and running. And
you have so many projects to like. You just showed us all these adorable baby onesies. Yani, yalla, khalas, take pictures.
I know.
They're adorable.
I'm an overthinker. So
nah.
yeah, I just need to start sharing. But yeah, Tatreez with Mary, and I think this will be good incentive for me to actually start posting again. But
good.
There we go. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. We love chatting with you.
Love chatting with you guys. It's been so fun. We'll have to come back after I have thobe updates, maybe.
Yes, please.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, and we're gonna hold you to this thobe update.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
I'm glad we finally got Mary on. I wasn't sure if we were going to get her on before she had the baby because, I've been harassing her. But I'm so glad we had her on and we're able to chat with her. I love hearing about, like, her Tatreez journey. And I know Mary's, like, so... Like, she's, like, such a Tatreez mama. Well, soon to be mama.
Oh, yeah, such a good way to put it.
Right? Like, she is the one, like, she talked about, like, the little bibs and stuff that she made. We have to, like, share pictures. Because she does, like, I feel like since we've known her, she's always making these, like, adorable baby gifts for friends and family. And, like, trying to spread Tatreez very early on for the babies.
Oh, I love that. And Mary also is just like the friendliest. Like she wants to make sure everyone feels included and feels comfortable. And I love that energy. It's just part of the community vibes that we all love about Tatreez, which is amazing.
Yeah. And that was like the best energy for us to have at the retreat last year too. Like, yeah, it was so good. Like she was definitely one of the people that I feel like, he tied us all together, like made everyone feel very comfortable. And yeah, hopefully she can come next year after the baby.
Yes, exactly. Her and Samia both, inshallah. I hope so.
Inshallah.
Oh, so good. Another amazing conversation. I love it so much. So much. Okay, well, thank you guys for listening to another episode of Tatreez Talk. We want to hear about your Tatreez journey. Share your stories with us at tatreeztalk@gmail.com, and we might have you on an upcoming episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite listening platform, and be sure to leave a 5-star review. You can follow me at Lina's Thobe, Amani at Minamani, and of course, make sure to follow the pod at Tatreez Talk. We will talk to you soon.